Hey, it is your buddy, Peace and Harmony with you here today. Much love going out to all the beautiful empowered harmonizers. We are zooming in and focusing in on a great topic, and that is how does someone who is psychopathic break down their target? And yes, indeed, a psychopath, someone without a conscience, without a deliberate sense of integrity, and a choice to basically honor something that's devolved, a lower sort of animalistic, rage like sort of personality profile that is underneath there, is usually hidden underneath the veneer of a mask. And um, and so the mask is what they must create, what they must derive and pull from what they see in the environment, like like a movie. So they mimic others, but it's not a genuine feeling. Like if you see someone, hey, how are you? And you're really excited. You're like, oh my gosh, or you see your dog after a long time. You get that guttural feeling of like excitement and a hug, and you don't have to say, oh, should I be excited? Should I hug? You're acting naturally. That's your natural limbic system. And that is sort of derailed, off rail, not working, not on. There is no spring in that mattress there. There ain't any wiring in that psychopath mind. So if you want to know, like, how does a psychopath target? This is a great Vera question, especially in the light of so much in the media. There's always probably been a lot in the media about this type. I'm really, of individual and the different horrendous crimes that they commit. And we currently see someone in the media, well, several people, who are making a lot of statements, that testify to these truths. And so on behalf of those people who have been in proximity, around, near, there's a different way that a psychopath will communicate. So in order to understand, how they break their target down, normally, what they're doing is there's something that individual is honing in on or focusing in that they feel would be an easy in, or that they are smarter than. They feel, because they are devoid of emotion or conscience, a psychopath will routinely feel that they are above the law, do not need to listen or obey rules. It's a non-issue. Go into a locked door and pick it, no problem. Go and grab this handful of money from a teller bank while she's going to turn her back for a moment. It's just like them grabbing for a glass of water. They don't have that frequency. Okay, there ain't no rabbit ears on that TV set. Okay, they're not pulling in the same sort of quantum field of energy that people are existing in, or a reality. So reality usually comes from a sense of truth or integrity, or basically something you're going to have to honor eventually, your body. So when a psychopath will target someone, I believe that because of their propensity to lack fear. Okay, so a fear is usually an inhibitory emotion. I'm afraid. I don't want to go talk to that girl. I'm afraid she's going to dump me. Fear. I'm afraid to go for the job. I might not get it. Fear. If I hurt this cat, the cat, I would feel, sad. So there's all these emotions which are regulated, and are fluid in the normal, in the natural, in the organic human being. And so those individuals who possess an abundance of these qualities, sensitivity, emotion, feeling of sort of that they are able to exist on higher planes of consciousness and really end up seeing good in people. So there's a certain personality vibe that others emit that you don't know that you're emitting until you've really been hindered, hurt, traumatized, taken down, bewildered, and really in an agony sort of, really it's a sort of a brainwashed gaslighting feeling within the system that's really flooded. It floods your emotion. Like a psychopath, when they break you down, they begin getting control and regulating of that pleasure system, that pain system, that ego system, that love system, that, the energy in motion. So people who have a lot of emotion, energy in motion, people who are good at connecting others, people who possess a lot of joy, facility in life. I mean, I'm looking at these 4 suspects in the recent Idaho murder, and it's apparent to me how this individual would target and why, and we're not saying this person is guilty or innocent, but in what you see right now in media is is look at the qualities of these 2 girls, beautiful, intelligent, accomplished, belong to a sorority, are smiling, are besties, best of friends, and they are very verbal and display this. They're very adapted to society. All these qualities, which a psychopath, even though they might be 6'3", 5'10", good looking, a husband, a father, a fire engine chief, CEO of a bread company, it doesn't matter. In fact, they look human, but it's the inside that is very different of a psychopath, between a person who has emotion, feelings, who has a large reservoir of this. And so these individuals, so it's my understanding, a psychopath, they will study others in order to learn. Like they will learn how people get close, how they might rub shoulders or hug or, smile, or the expression, and they'll pick up on how to mimic this. And then they'll use it sort of ahead of a step of others. So to me, a psychopath, they always try to stay like a step ahead of others. It's their charm, charisma. They sort of get attention from the corner of your eye, and then they hook you. So there's sort of a hook that a psychopath is landing, like a fishing hook, casting it out into the pool, into the ponds, into the lake. What is the prey? They are interspecies predators. Dr. Robert Hare. He has a checklist. He was a doctor in Madison, Wisconsin, University of Wisconsin, and he studied a lot of those inmates. If you look at the guys who escaped from Alcatraz, I mean, it's a similar thing. So in other words, these individuals are constantly and always premeditating, predetermining, planning, and and sort of, but it's very cerebral. So they will use the cerebral thinking to sort of outsmart and subdue, take down their targets. What does it mean by take down? By give a lot of attention, a lot of gifts, a lot of exposure of personal information. Man or woman, they're exposing, oh, I was hurt here. They will begin a sob story. John Wayne Gacy, wasn't the criminal who, he had subdued 10 women, okay, through a seductive. So there's usually a seductive and a pity party, or some sort of pity me, that they get others' sympathy. So they'll play wounded. Oh, my arm is broke. Can you please help me fill my tank with gas? John Wayne Gacy. And then subdued. We're not getting in depth. What I'm trying to show is, in that heinous event, when a psychopath will target and subdue through seduction, premeditation, pre-calculation. It's not spontaneous. It's not motherly. It's not fatherly. It's not boyfriendish. It's not girlfriendish. It's premeditated, pre-acted, designed to lead and deceive others in a course of action that will lead to their demise. In other words, they in the beginning they will give an abundance of emotion, pleasure, the oxytocin. They might have a lot of eye contact in the beginning, a lot of ego sort of stroking of others, getting you on that ego sense of you're all of a sudden very good, where you were lost before, really not having a thing going on or something. All of a sudden, your life changes and you begin to have this emotional weight that begins to value and value this individual and what they display, and devalue yourself and what you're saying, feeling, and could be vocalizing. But that whole system is sort of deliberately shut down in others who they target, so that they will be just all eyes, all ears, all hands, all stomach, all bank accounts, all time on this individual. They gain this superior foothold. You can even watch their body language. They're very dominant. They might men, wearing the big shoes, either in business downtown, or big boots, just they sort of shuffle their feet and have maybe they wear like a specific type of shoe that makes a sound, or they'll mimic their a sort of a strength of foot, which gives them a feeling of groundedness, and sort of you lose ground to them because they will display a groundedness which is different. It emits a different energy than those around them. They will fool and trick even the police, the brightest of psychologists, you name it, prison guards. I mean, they are really good liars, really good deceivers, very convincing. I mean, convincing, meaning they're convincing others. It's a way of sort of allowing other people to diffuse their own sort of nerves and anxiety. I feel it's a subconscious seduction, meaning your subconscious can be attracted if this individual displays some state of being which you have within you but haven't attained yet. And so this person becomes extremely attractive. For example, if you haven't felt needed, wanted, or belong, this person will really give your ego a feeling that you're needed, wanted, and belong. So there's this feeling in a saturation in the subconscious, which the person is not conscious of. But the psychopath, I feel in my study and knowledge, is that because they are devoid of emotion, fear, integrity, morality, the prefrontal cortex isn't really churning out, any conscious decisions, meaning this is really wrong if I did this to my children. This is really wrong if I did this to my wife. What would be really wrong to your wife? Cheating on them. A job, cheating on your boss, cheating on their education, making things up, making up a history about themselves to other people which doesn't exist. The subconscious then, because they do not resonate in certain emotional states, they can be sort of more grounded or appear stronger, or dominating, or sort of like the winner, the victor. And that's their premeditated sort of putting on a show, even though it doesn't seem like they're putting on a show. They will put on this facade, which goes to the very life of of society. So these people can flip on a minute, flip on a dime, flip on, from one look to another. I mean, the coloring of their face and then going down. Almost, you can see them almost shrinking in stature when they throw away the facade, the persona. Color seems to drop from their face. Their eyes seem to get colder. Their whole being is sort of devoid of warmth and that other sort of charismatic character that you thought was sort of filling in your or completing you. Look at these words, completing you, as if you were not complete or learned before. So I think that, especially in the beginning, for example, and then if a mother, what would a mother do? Sort of ignore their children, not teach them things, not show them how to deal with emotions, not stick up for them in the family, allow them to get ruined in relationships, meaning bullies and kids, like their kids are crying and their mom just doesn't care. It's just like throwing the paper from the yard into the house. Get in here. They don't have a care or concern. If this psychopath will break you down, so they will devoid you of your needs as well. And so you don't realize you're on wobbly ground because their groundedness will generally be that of displacing or not emanating certain negative states that you might find difficult, especially that of grief and anxiety. So what they do, which is very hideous and heinous, is they display the lack of those negative feelings, which means they're cool under pressure, or there's certain times when they are just in a state, and sometimes that can be sort of it picks up subconsciously to their prey because they know that they're getting some sort of need filled, an emotional need that is addictive in nature, which is very difficult people don't understand that they're in the midst of the red flags. Their ego is being stroked, which means part of you is, which you thought subconsciously was not good enough, man enough, woman enough, boss enough, etc., not enough. Subconsciously, they can pick this up. That's sort of their psychopath radar. And they'll know they're going to break you down from the get-go. So this is what's really strange, is they're very premeditated, pre-calculating, and even if it involves violating boundaries, violating other people, their emotional boundaries in particular, as if you don't have any. They sort of take over others. It's sort of a takeover, more than of a possession, and then a sort of communication that leads to gaslighting and brainwashing, meaning subduing them and subjecting them to a very uncomfortable mental state, which they can't get out of, which the person sort of, the psychopath sort of it's the flip side of the positive, meaning that if in the beginning, you really needed a boss and no one has really trained you before, this person comes on as the best, the one that fills in all your missing nooks and crannies. In other words, you don't question them, and then they get their hands on the trigger of your self-doubt. So when they have really got you in the palm of their hand, you don't realize that those needs, which you possess yourself from the get-go, but there's a deliberate brainwashing that will minimize you, make you very small. In other words, they have the ability to enlarge and minimize others, which in the gaslighting, this can be expansive love, expansive income, expansive family experiences, making things happen. They sort of their presence precedes them in this way, and they will emit this sort of energy, which a lot of people will find very pacifying or seductive, relaxing, calming, and not just if now you're speaking to peace and harmony, but we're talking that they're trying to pin others and break others down. So number one, I would say there's the deliberate landing of a hook or something that is satisfied only by this person. So they've made it so that only they can get in, and this is not how you remain in control of your being, of your security, of your I am. So normally someone would be supportive, like, so for example, in a family, a psychopathic mother to their children should be nurturing, warm, motherly, all these qualities. A psychopathic mother will not have these qualities, even though they don't have the warm smile. They don't have the Gucci goose. They don't have I'll support you and guide you through how, you're riding your bike and you're scared when someone approaches you and, come crying home to them and they basically are not present. They'll leave you in fits of, their children in fits of dismay and not feel bad, not sort of feel the need to nurture, comfort, or give that warm eye contact that creates the oxytocin, the security, the bond that is generated between a mother and a child. And even at birth, even at diaper changing, an infant who is trying to bond with a mother, going like this, and the baby has mirror neurons, that's wanting to play with this. A psychopath who is devoid of empathy, they don't have those same mirror neurons to sort of mimic and Google Gaga and pick them up and kiss. They could have a blank stare while the baby is like begging for attention, to play, to laugh, to sing, to skip, to be silly, all these natural things. All these very important stages are sort of not supported emotionally, psychologically in that quantum field, the kinesthesiology. So the subconscious, we're really getting into the kinesthesiology, or the movement of the body itself, how it feels, how it moves, where it feels comfortable, where it can accept and take and handle challenges successfully. So if your mother is a psychopath, it will break you down from the beginning, i.e. not giving that very particular need, so that they know that they can leave that void in that child, so they'll always be unsatisfied, hurting, wondering, left, where it's like the Bambi, I made it through, Mom, where are you? And it's like so sad. So it's like that child will have that running, not just through their mind, but I feel through the body. David Hawkins, power versus force. This is very important that you realize that a psychopath will use a force, not what they think is their power. So, like, for example, just even paralleling what we see in that Idaho story. Someone who's very detached. We're not going to go there, but it's that same emotionalist. I want to use that as a reference, that Brian K, sort of that cold stare, emotionless, doesn't, the eyes don't move. There's another female in the news today. I can't think of her name, but I mean, you can clearly see the smile and then the eyes do not move. It's the psychopath, their body cannot put on certain genuine things that they might work hard to do, but like a genuine smile there, I feel, because they don't have that repertoire, they can't really display certain things, and this might make them feel that they want that. And then so if they can consume, i.e., get control and see the pain of others. That is a turn on, a dopamine hit, a feeling of satiation, fulfilling a psychopath neurochemistry. Okay, that's what their neurochemistry is, sort of their neurochemistry. And I know that this is advanced for a lot of people, and I want to kind of go in depth when we understand how a psychopath will break others down, because you'll realize what sort of the cause that creates the effect in others, and then you're going to see how you are separate and distinct from that. So a psychopath will break people down in a number of ways. Number one, I feel it's that unconscious satisfying of certain needs, which leaves you basically addicted, having a lot and overwhelm of a certain good, and then the withdrawal of that. And then it leaves the brain, the body, the kinesthesiology, the physical neurochemistry, that adrenaline, the cortisol, the dopamine, all the neurochemicals of stress, mixing then with the drive, and then the satiation. So a satiation of a psychopath sort of reconnect. In other words, when do they satiate you or give you, again, what you want if you start to break down, i.e. the pain, this doesn't seem right. Something seems a little off. You begin to notice that they're really not like the others, or they possess some qualities, specifically of body language, that gives it's an unconscious communication. So why is it so convincing? Because they're able to communicate without words. And they're able to override people because of this, their dominant body language. For example, in the recent trial, if we look at Brian K. once again, when he first came in and his hands are unshackled and he gets right in the chair. And then the second time, he gets in like he, owns the courtroom. He stands up, puts his butt out a bit, gives himself a little time, to sit down, he's he's in control, that pause, boom, everybody watch for my, what, and then sit down, and then wait for others to stand as if, he's got the dominant. So there is a satisfying of a domination that really can fool other people. Through the lies, they can be very convincing. So number one, you must understand that there's this brainwashing and gaslighting, sort of subduing subduction, a very painful experience that not everybody will experience in their lifetime unless you have been targeted, or sort of that's the beginning breakdown, the breakdown of your self-support, the breakdown of your empowerment, the breakdown of your own sense of certainty and knowing, and the corruption, corroding, and the emotional, meaning in your physical structures, the breakdown of this, meaning it's pathology into the physical body. It creates a pathology into those who are around them, who will, because it's a following blindly, they're following not out of empowerment, not out of truth, and not out of knowledge. Because knowledge, truly, even though it might be difficult to learn things, this might be advanced, knowledge is power. The psychopath wants to disempower you by keeping you devoid of specific knowledge. So that's part of the breakdown. It's going to be their wielding of what they think is communication, giving you sort of all the hits that you need. In that satisfaction of an ego in others. The ego, like Freud, is based on, in reality, I am good or I am bad. It's that duality. That creates a lot of work. In an individual who is targeted, who is broken down by a psychopath. Why? Because when they begin to subdue their victims, they have kind of a psychopathic stare, a gaze where they look deeply into the eyes. It's sort of, they have that kaleidoscope, glassy, big-eyed look, which, just you could fall into. Okay, that is like a loss of self. Oh, how lovely, how romantic! I lost myself to her. Oh, it was butterflies and unicorns. Do you see how you can lose yourself in love, and there's this feeling of euphoria, and it's almost like a drug. Love is the drug I'm thinking of. No, it's a love duplicate. It's a love uh, pill. It's they're inducing you into a specific state of helplessness. They will, because they will see how they will lead and others will follow. They make great leaders, and they will make more of a follower of others. But the disempowering of others, particularly by the withholding of knowledge, truth, and support in ways that are really needed and felt. Needed and felt. So it's this very mysterious subconscious level where we need to begin some healing from. So it's this very mysterious place, but it is also the place of peace, calm, empowerment, and really sort of inhabiting a space that has more clarity, power, and a complete separateness, distinct and separate from that sort of untruth that a psychopath will use to disarm, dismay, and sort of twist and deceive others' realities. In other words, people, their sense of reality is sort of altered. It's sort of a mind-altering situation where they will give you a feeling of being there and then withholding, which creates a fear if they are not there. They will use this as a ploy. They will specifically ignore, not be there to celebrate, not be there to hug, not be there to have eye contact, but then in abundance in other situations. So there's a real disconnect. Too many moving parts. It is like, it feels disconnected, janky. This is good, but and then the ego begins this up and down, as the relationship begins to progress, because eventually a psychopath, when they break people down, they will break you down till you're defenseless, meaning they'll get people into very regressed states. Regressed meaning I can count on you like a mother. Men who need mothering. These will rock you like a baby. You might even be sitting on their lap. They might even be holding you like a teddy bear. And they're giving you all this. And then they know, and they know that then the withholding or the falsification of this would destroy others. Yet here they go, withhold, I'm gone. Oops, didn't I tell you I'm in love with someone else and we're going on a jet plane. Don't know when I'll be back again, and then they're just, taking the midnight train, and you're like singing what? You can't even sing a song or a Hail Mary. You can't even get yourself off the ground emotionally because you're so, that there's a clash, there's a crushing, there's this sort of system that they will break down in their prey, which you then have to sort of crawl and get back up again to assemble your own pieces. Your life feels broken into pieces. This doesn't make sense. Why? This is when it was good. I thought this. There's all these I thoughts. And then your body becomes like disconnected and broken from the brain. Truly what they call dysfunction. And the mind will then lead the body to destruction. Basically end up trying to break yourself. Not getting enough sleep. There's always a fear that they will leave dangling over you. When they get you into that sort of cycle of dependence, although you don't realize it as such. think it's in the name of a celebration of your love. I mean, or a celebration of your job, or you've hit, this is how it's supposed to be, and it's nothing of the sort. And there's a coldness emotionally that they possess, and they will break others down by getting them very tired, emotionally distraught, giving you an abundance. So there's an extreme where they are sort of different from anybody else, and it's just something that they emit. And these are the people you have to be careful of. But once you know it, and you become sort of an expert. But when you don't know it, you're really paying the price. You're hurting. I would say delirious. A delirium is the sort of pain, meaning you're almost like in a state of shock, as if things are dizzy. Things seem unreal for a moment. I can't load the dishwasher. I can't cut a tomato. I can't write my name for a signature. Your body begins to basically start running the show, sliding down the down staircase into basically what I call those valley moments. And the body can constrict, get very sore, during these things. And you can get a lot of those cortical steroids, sort of the stress hormone burn, so people will be inflamed. And namely, the part of the problem of how they break you down is that of the uncertainty. So creating a huge amount of uncertainty, especially as it relates to relationship, and then how you interface with the world. Because when a psychopath is someone, I believe, who thinks and perceives differently. And if you're next to these people, I just say next to, because they're not really relating to you in the way that you think, but it's sort of, you pick it up like a sponge automatically. But so if you begin to realize that they think in a way that is very sort of, in a way that is very unique, it's a psychopathic way of flipping and converting your regular senses into another meaning or interpretation that you take from objects or things in your environment, and it becomes sort of flipped around in your mind, always in a way that becomes debilitating or a way that is disturbing to you. It might even be funny, like a tickle or a chuckle, but it's always combined with some sort of negative madness or a negative bias, basically self-sabotage to yourself. So they have a very dangerous chemical that they create, almost like a test tube, in the people whom they target. They create like this arousal with fear, like this sort of combo that should not be going together. Arousal with fear, and sort of, and then, or violation, the high risk behavior, then they will lead others down a path where sort of these, there's high risk behavior, and oftentimes it requires others to then abandon or not stay in touch with a specific or important value, especially when it comes to referencing yourself and your I am as separate, distinct, and worthwhile, and has something to say, and is sometimes right, or has something of value, very important. And it is that experience which is quenched, squashed, shut down, disabled by a psychopath through, I would say, their psychopath and word, like psychopath and word salad, which means they flip things, and they give certain body languages where they're able to uproot you from a stable foundation to a negative foundation that is founded in grief and fear, and then eventually anger, which become these surface emotions. You cannot have the foundation of your being in doubt, guilt, or disbelief. if your foundation is in grief, doubt, and fear, you are not grounding. You are not on your ground level. But the psychopath and the narcissist too, but here on the psychopath, they really want others to be grounded, which means anchored in fear, doubt, and disbelief, like a shock. And these can be either euphoric or very disturbing states. They can be the life of the party, and then they can get locked up. Or you find out, later about these people that they have 2 and 3 marriages, and they have a baby with other families, and the others don't know about it. How could one physically do this? Because their body emits or it lacks a certain feeling that most people, I'm committed, most men, I'm committed to this woman, to this family. I'll be a father to my son. I'll show them how to swing the bat. I'm there and available and accessible for them. A psychopath parent, friend, boss, lover, they are not in the same I am present to you. It is always a fool, a gamble, and it's always, for them, it's always to just delay some sort of boredom. I mean, they will keep themselves getting a new relationship and getting married. I mean, they could go to the mall and get a pair of jeans. They could go to the grocery store and pick up some hamburger and a steak. Or they could just pick up someone at the library, or the bar or the grocery store, get married, start another family, tell them that they're, railroad drivers and off, working a month at a time, and they'll come back. All the stories, I mean, it would blow your mind. And to them, they're not doing anything wrong. They don't have any pinch of guilt, remorse, regret. Oh, Bernie Madoff, you just defrauded people of billions of dollars, and they are lost and homeless and hungry. That doesn't matter. For some of these people, as long as they got their 20 million and others suffered, they don't have any problem. And a psychopath, they think to themselves, they perceive this as a strength. And then when people come back to them, and they can just, people try to have a relationship. They're not really, these are not people who are having relationships. These are sort of physical entities who are sort of playing in other, in this world. They're sort of interacting with this world in a way for them to get what they want. And there's strange things what they want. And I would say when it comes onto that is they will, like also this gentleman, Brian K. said in his earlier post that, he has no remorse and he can do anything he wants. So, if a psychopath, how they break others down is they will really do whatever they want. And oftentimes then people look up to them and go, oh, wow, what a leader. And they think, oh, isn't this person golden? Or this, this person is strong. And then they might defame you and call you weak, stupid, unattractive, unsexual, whatever it is that they're going to say. That's flawed. That's their lies. They just dish up lies. So they break others down through creating a false reality and then withdrawing of that false reality. They create and then destroy realities and worlds for people. I thought we were going to get married. I thought we were doing this business gig. I thought. Okay. But the body, though, the psychopath, they don't feel any, where then other people end up, I feel, as a result, end up feeling a magnitude of pain, guilt. Their minds are overwhelmed, their bodies are burning. They're feeling all that, and then an overwhelm of sadness, or, really where their body is out of control. That is really when a psychopath has gaslighted. Their target's body will be running the show. In other words, what would be important for you, like for you as a child, to focus in school? The psychopath would make it sure that you cannot focus in school and help yourself as a parent. As a psychopath in business, they would pretend to be a partner, but they would steal information, contacts, deals, information, desk cabinet fulls, pick locks, follow people on social media, get another job, get a part-time job, just whatever they need to get access to whatever it is that they want. If it's money, if it's food, maybe it's just something physical. They like the door handle on the door, so they'll take that too. They'll basically sort of, and it'll be very strange, awkward, or the things that they will take will be things that most people would not take. Or they will deface physical structures, meaning, take a drill and drill holes through walls, open up or scratch certain things on cement, do things outside, write their names, leave their this, leave their that. They're like a calling card. And to them, it's just their way of sort of what they would say being alive, living their life, even though they see everybody clamoring in misery. To them, they're getting off scot-free, and to them, that's getting their heart racing. That's their fulfillment. When they see other people confused, confounded, the Jerry Springer show, people yelling at each other, that person is just like, wow, like, I'm so not bothered. And they will break people down, because then they will not be present, especially in those fitful moments. They will not be there for closure, to communicate, explain, and they'll leave a sort of paranoia as part of that in others. I would say in the beginning, they will create this psychopathic bond of fear, self-doubt, and paranoia, and lust, or some other sort of drive, and it's a very important toxic combination to release, to let go of, that in your body, because it will, like a sponge, when you're around it, pick up that electric energy, and self-doubt, not focus, not do, not, the positive, meaning any sort of impetus that you need to self-empower. The psychopath will basically pull the plug on that for you, and make sure that even when they're gone, you've got a negative self foundation, which you cannot. Okay, that's how they try to break you down. Put you on a foundation of fear, doubt, or guilt. Okay, that is not your foundation. But if you've been with a psychopath, they will keep, because it's that hyperactive, hyper arousal, high risk states that they will take others through, and you think that you're on this hyper arousal through love, through whatever it is that they're giving you, the good sex, the good food, the good beers, the good stew, the good movies, the good couch, the good car, whatever it is that they have. They'll take you for that, and then you won't realize that your foundation is other than that. And then they'll sort of, just when they're done, they'll just sort of disappear. Sometimes a little contact. Hey, after you expose me, when you kind of, and then, when you sort of then reclaim, they try to keep other people separate from reclaiming their own sanity, which you have all along, but they will just get other people wound up, and sort of really in this very uncomfortable state, which is not natural to be in. But it gives them like a poison, like a toxin, like a life de-accelerator, meaning, what's very interesting, and before we wrap this up, I just want to share some powerful truths. And I don't know if people listen to the whole length of this, but that life is not sustainable. And you will need to listen to your own guttural words, because those are your truth. The psychopath tries to keep you, ears closed, ears plugged. Yeah, I can't focus. I will never be good enough. I will never have, your I am. If it's generated by all this, I can never be, these statements, I can never be present. I can never be comfortable with this. I can, this anxiety, that's part of that old voice. You're not founded there. That's not your foundation. If someone put you on that foundation, that's where they put a foundation. It's not a foundation. Your foundation is where you are. So that's part of the dismay. That is the dismay. So they sort of part of their trickery or deception is they try to remove and distinct, not allow that sort of evolution of yourself to come into that being of neutrality, of content, of fulfillment, and having that sustained through moments, through decisions, through unconditional love, through living in unconditional love, in especially when it comes to a positive self-regard. I got you, baby. This individual, this is their tactic, this is their tool. Psychopath word salad, breaking other people down through perception, through interpretation, through sort of a decoding and a reprogramming of objects, and sort of a way that they subconsciously direct the focus of others where it's beyond your control. So that helplessness is not your foundation, but they will make you feel as if that's part of their ploy. That's part of like their drug. That's part of how their drug works. It has that after effect. It's like the psychopath hangover, if you will. But time will help to get you sort of distilled from that. And they will use by sort of seeding and stroking the ego in whatever way that was missing, in a way that you didn't know was missing. So they get other people, and then people really do get really sort of single-sided, because, and the psychopath knows this, they know when they've got a good person, someone who sees the good in all. The psychopath, this is like easy pickings. They're, look at that person, they just, they don't have any defenses, they don't have any boundaries. This is just a good person. They can go up there and just do their deception. They can be all of a sudden the nitrous in shining armor, the knight in shining armor that is perceived, but they'll stroke the ego in a way through their actions that will give them an emboldened way, or little gifts or things or perceptions that are twisted. It sounds very strange, but they will communicate with an enigma, which means it's a constant puzzle. It is not a good it's not a good way for you to be thinking. It's like learning a bad language where you're put into a psychopath prison cell, and it becomes a really delirium, sort of a distortion of reality, and feeling that you cannot get a grip. That's sort of the after effect of their brainwashing and gaslighting, altering your sense of reality. How do they break you down? Getting you very tired, getting you aroused, breaking down your boundaries, engaging you in high risk, exciting adventures, travels, sexual exploits, business exploits, big money ventures, big travels that lead to somewhere. Or you find, this person you met, and then all of a sudden you're going on a vacation. They have a conference they're taking you to, a birthday, and why, and you don't know, and then, and then it's just all smiles, giggles, butterflies, and romance for men and women alike. But they don't realize that they're just sort of on a different path than they think that they are. Gaslighting individuals, the way that they will seduce and touch and anchor certain states and others using their body, touching them in a way that anchors a feeling, and sort of it's like it'll put your body into a triggered state or the untriggered state, through whatever means that they use. This really becomes, you become like your actual skin and body becomes like a touch point for them to infuse this poison, which is a way that they'll anchor certain feelings. Because if you can anchor certain things the way that you touch person, you can touch person. You are so good. You did a great job. If you're a young child, great job riding your bike. That was great. Great turn. You came right back. I watched you the whole time. Great job. And then that child gets that pat on the back and they go, ooh, but what if that pat is something else? We can do this high risk behavior or whatever it is, wherever it is that they grab you, under the chin, under the elbow, on the wrist, under, psychopaths in business, men who are putting their arms around the waist of other women who are married. You think these married men want a psychopath to help yourselves to their body from all these psychopath men, just helping themselves to any parts of your body, particularly the sensitive areas, okay? And then violating and giving a feeling of breaking and a feeling of violation that you cannot figure out, where you just feel violated and you don't know why. It's because generally this person will violate and in ways that are abusive, ways that use the arousal system, the sexual arousal system, to be put into play when it's not meant to be put into play. Very distracting. Hyper arousal, meaning sexualizing everything. A table is no longer a table. There's this feeling that they'll project a psychopath in their word salad. They have an ability to sort of project something that makes others sort of feel or perceive or experience something. It's a very strange physical, and then usually it leads to an arousal. So you're in this gaslighting experience, and they will basically get you aroused to turning on yourself. This is not a healthy state. That's what they'll put people in an emotional ditch, and then they'll just be on to the next man, the next lady, the next business, the next scheme. And so that, that's just some of the ways that a psychopath will break others down. Namely, and this doesn't seem obvious, but through body language. Men in a sexualized position, opening, and doing this, this all the time, or doing with their legs, and this, and then they have a way to sort of look at others and sort of sexualize what they're perceiving, and getting others hyper aroused or laughing, and getting sort of on this drug, this trip, whatever it is that this gaslighting communication sets up the room for, up the family for. So it can be walking on eggshells, it can be walking on melted butter, walking on ice. You certainly, though, will not feel grounded, confident, beyond the shadow of a doubt, and empowered. There's going to be part of you that's, something is off or wrong. Okay, that's the on switch of the psychopath breakdown, that they want that to sort of be the programming. You can just turn off the programming. Once you realize a psychopath, how they break others down is through that adverse programming, using the body, using arousal, using projection, hyper arousal, which means, getting people over excited, sexually, doing things to them that will always tickling them, um, always doing something strong, strange, but there's a violation, and you might see it. Why are they getting this close? Why is that person kissing that person? Why are they stroking this person? And the person just puts up with it. Maybe they don't know any different and they're just founded on fear, uncertainty and doubt. That is not your foundation. That is the path of a psychopath. uh, that's their conviction of their breaking down. So they will basically blaze their way through life and churning through situations, people, wins, but it's all a false. And that's what they do. They just, and it's not better. But what you have to realize then is understanding that they use this delirium to keep other people stuck, blocked, isolated, not growing, and then they will use all these as defamatory remarks against you. In other words, all that they had, developed as positive, they will use as defamatory. So there's always a no-win situation. You cannot go to them as a touchstone or a confidant the way that you did. It's not a equal. There's not a give and flow of energy that is equal in nature. It is unlike what you are needing. And then your physical body will know. Your physical body will begin to tell you, I'm getting too skinny. I'm getting too fat. I'm getting too tired. I can't do this anymore. It might be rumbling in the back seat of your mind, but you keep pushing forward. It's that hyper arousal that keeps you, sort of continuing doing the wrong thing, and sort of not acknowledging a solution that you can inhabit or be in. So people's lives get truncated short. They can't see. They can't have a vision. They're disempowered. They can't learn. They're victims of the system, victims of doubt, wearing a victim mentality. That is a false identity. And if you've accepted that as your identity, you might want to say, you know what, that identity doesn't really look good on me. Like, victim doesn't really, if I put that, if that's my identity, it's not a good fit. It's not comfortable. It's like a shirt. It doesn't fit right. It's too small in the sleeves. It's too small in the stomach. It's just not a good fit. Being a victim is not a good fit. That victimization energy, that's not a good energetic match. And then so that victimizing will always remain. And so, but if you can understand and detach and realize that your I am is separate and distinct. In other words, the body that you inhabit is of a warm, caring, kind, gentle, considerate, loving nature, but that gets sort of unfeathered, the boilerplate turned down, deprogrammed for you to believe about self otherwise. So it's really, they get into the belief system. That's really how they target they lead others to a path where they cannot have a belief. And that becomes an unalignment within the body of the person. So in other words, it becomes very difficult for the body to be, head up, over the shoulders. There's something that might jet out. You might find that you throw your body out in tension, and you have to realize that you have to de-stress those areas that we're using as a reaction, or however your the residue manifests. Let's just keep it as because to heal, we need to get out of that duality, and you need to relax and put into a neutrality, a tension, and realize that that gripping and anxiety is not going to help you accomplish a thing. It only can put you back further into discomfort, which you might then just need to acknowledge and validate through positive self connection, like the recovery dates, positive unconditional self love. Man, you did a great job handling that. Great job. Don't worry about it. You did fantastic. You are fantastic. These are the things you need to anchor and solidify and experience within yourself. We talk about these. These are states you need to inhabit and not just visit. Keep within, like that little fire within that doesn't need to go through a lot of excessive work. Keep that sort of little light within, whatever you call that infinite self that is really separate and distinct from that discomfort feeling, that you must really sort of name it something else. Name it the residue. It's just sort of an after effect of that sort of drug. It's a hangover. You can call it a psychopath hangover. You can get through it. There's certain things you can do, drink, be, do, and have that will get you into wellness again. But namely, you're going to need to say, okay, it's okay to inhabit wellness, because that state conflicts with the state the psychopath sets you in. So there's a direct conflict between the truth, your truth, what you want, and your body, your true strength, and what the psychopath can do to you. They're going to keep you in a perpetual untruth, erroneous thinking, and then they keep you thinking that there is no other side until you get to the other side, and realize that you don't inhabit that whole energy that they thrust you, project you, communicate you, miscommunicate you in. And you need, and then you need to come to yourself and be self-reinforcing. And a lot of the tools that I discuss in the book that I'm working on is all about relaxing into that space and realizing that it's okay to inhabit what is not the residue, what is not the overstimulating, hyper arousal, the tricks that the psychopath will use. Those are just part of their agitation to keep people away from their strength and not inhabiting that. So it's like there's a quantum field. There's an energy field that's you can just be in. And you'll begin to just say, I'm exiting that fear chamber. I can always go back. Oh boy, you can always go back to that fear chamber and doubt chamber and delirium if you want to put yourself in there. But you have a choice. You have a choice to say, and a choice to be. So allow your body to surrender and make a choice for a better feeling instead, and say, I owe this to me. I give this to me, and see what happens. And continue with repetition and experience the strength of self that you give. And you might need to do some work in the beginning to make it sort of solidify. And that you go from unconsciously incompetent, meaning you didn't know how you were reinforcing a negative self I am. You go from that to being consciously incompetent and going, whoa, I realize how my body is reinforcing some negative states that are not conducive to my well-being, and I'm exiting that doubt chamber. You can always go back. You can always go back. I don't think so. In fact, eventually when you realize that you don't go back, and then eventually You're in another quantum field. You're in an awareness, a heightened state of awareness, which means you can see the tactics that people use. You can see where you were being broken down. You can see what was deliberate. And it's hard to trust and have self-trust and to identify with a positive and make it a positive, unconditional self-regard, which means inner me, inner ya, yo, whatever. You have to have a self-reference and begin to have that in just without even language. And experience a B state. It's just like looking out from the top of a mountain or over a peaceful pond or a gorgeous forest, and to just be that state. That's unconditional positive self-regard. Nurture that state. Get in touch with that state. Allow that to be, to hold you upright, to allow to direct all of your senses, sight, sound, vision, tasting, and allow that alignment to be in. And then allow in your progress, like in your recovery dates, how can I physically become more in alignment with my head, shoulders, rib cage, hip, knees, and just in self-positive, unconditional self-regard. Unconditional, so it's just not based on a certain thing, yes or no. It just has to be an ongoing positive. And allowing that to be, it's not expensive. You're not going to get a bill for the universe from it. Oh, peace and harmony. What if this could be so good, it's going to get torn down again. Stay on top of that mountain. Just stay and don't put a name, don't put a label, don't put an ego. But put yourself there and stay yourself there and walk yourself there, breathe yourself there, brush your teeth, sort of that state. Allow what is more sustainable and allow that to be nurtured, especially and allow yourself to become aware. Then through this experience, where have you built a stronger steel wall, okay, that's 6 feet thick, that nothing else can get through, that you're so protected. Know that you have erected that through self-respect, through self-trust, through going, oh my God, that was what, you shake yourself out of it. And eventually, given time, you'll be able to stay on that path. With repetition and experience, you've got this. This is your buddy, Peace and Harmony, with you here today. And I hope that these videos do help. Please share, please subscribe, and for goodness sake, please donate for more great tools, videos, discussions, and support. Peace out. Have a beautiful day.